Hello YouTube, welcome back to my next video. In this video we are going to check the Hibernate config file, which is the most important and most mandatory file of a Hibernate project. So it will have all the property value which the Hibernate will using in its operation. So the first point you have to remember is it should be placed in the root directory of Classpath. So in the previous tutorial we encountered an error like the file is not available since we were put that file in the model class or the package. So it should not be in the package, should be in the root directory always. Now the first property in the configuration file will be the database configuration file. So that will be the JDBC. Since all the ORM tool is built on the top of JDBC, we should need to specify the database configuration first. So for example, if we are using the MySQL database, so it should have the four properties like property name of the driver class. So this is the com.mysql.jdbc.driver is the driver class property, and the next will be the URL and username and password. So this is the property information for the MySQL database. This we have used in the previous video to our first project in the Hibernate. So if you are using Oracle, same way, the property information will be this one. You have to use the driver information, the username and password, and the URL as well. So the next property in the Hibernate file I want to introduce here is the Dialect property. Actually this Dialect property tells what kind of database you are using in Hibernate. For example, if you are using MySQL or Oracle, we want to tell the Hibernate like we are going to use this database in Hibernate. So for that each database is having its own Dialect property. Like if you are using MySQL database, you have to use this Dialect property like property name Dialect or Hibernate Dialect dot MySQL Dialect. And if you are using Oracle database, for example you are using tangent Oracle, so you can have this particular property name for the Dialect. So actually in Oracle the integer, for example I'm saying in Oracle integer is a data type for columns in tables, but in MySQL is just in. So we are basically telling Hibernate like we are using this type of Dialect, means this type of SQL queries for in the Hibernate application. So the next property we have to check is the show SQL property. So this is a simple property. The way it is writing is property name show SQL, you have to set it true. So if it is false, it won't work. This is actually telling Hibernate to show all the SQL queries which we are running in the program. So let's try out that. Okay, this is my Hibernate configuration file. So you can see I have set it true. Now if I am running this one, our program here, we can see the SQL query for the insert has been shown by the Hibernate. So if I'm not setting this one also, it won't show the SQL queries for the operations we are doing through the program. So it is handy property from Hibernate to check out all the SQLs. Property what we have to check is the h2 hbbm2ddl dot auto property. This is actually written as property name hbm2ddl or dot auto and set it as create. So it can have basically four values in the section of create. So the create, if you are setting it create, each time a new schema is created describing the previous data. Let's check it out. That means that if you run put it as create, and if you are running your program, it will delete all your previous data in the database and do as a fresh query. Let's check it out. Okay, now this is my Hibernate configuration file. You can see I have set it as create. Now this is my database. It is already having a value Genu here. Now let's try running this app again with a student name as John. Let's see. what it will be. Okay, I have executed the query. The query is not showing here because we have set in the show SQL property as false. Now let's the database again. You can see the previous data of that the student was name was Gino. It is all deleted, and the fresh query has been executed, and the new student name is updated. So this property is actually for your development purpose of your project. So never use this on your deployment or production environment, because it is gonna delete your previous data. So please take care of that. So the next value what it can have is the create drop value. So it is actually drop the schema when SessionFactory is closed explicitly or the application is stopped. So this says that if you have closed your SessionFactory, it will before and you're running the program again, it will drop down all the previous data. So let's check this out also. Now this is our program. I have made a little changes here. I have created one student object 1, and again student object 2, and I have okay, I forgot to add the save student object 1 and same student object 2 separately. Okay, now this is saving student 1 here, and now this is saving student 2 here. So what if I have said now to create drop here. Now let's try running this. So you can see 1 and 2 is headed, and it has run 2 Hibernate queries and it, 2 insert queries. Let's check the database now. Oops, it says the database table don't exist. Now let me refresh it again. Yes, the table has gone. The database is deleted. So as the property says, it is a create drop. It will create the database for your program, and once the session factory is closed or your application is ended, all the schema and the database deleted. So this is also for your development purpose. Don't you use this in your production or live environment. So the third value it can have is the validate property. So it just validates and makes no changes the database. So I have set my property as validate. So here you can see the table is deleted in my val previous value, which is create drop. So let me run this. Let's see what is the error coming. Okay, it happened an error here, missing table student. So it is not created a student here. Okay, so it is not going to create a student here. So the validate property will only add the values to the database, and not gonna create the value. So the next value and the last one we can have is the update property. So this will update the schema. So this is different from the validated. This update the schema, I mean update the table changes or anything what we have written, and if we want it create the database also. So let's check it out. Okay, I'm going to set it as update. Now you can see my table is not there in my test db. No table is there. Now if I'm going to run this query, let's see. Okay, see here it is added the student 1 and student 2, and the two insert queries has been executed. Now let's check the database here. Okay, the two values has been added here. So we have set it as validate. Now if I run this again, it should add again two values. It is not adding because it is I have set it is a primary key. Now if I am putting in this 3 4, it should add. Okay, so the next value it is added. Let's see. So the next values have been added. If I am updating this back to validate, let's see what happened. So I should change it 5 6 again 5 not here. I'm putting as John 5 and John 6. Let's try running this. See this. So if in the validate property it will not create the database, it will just add the data, but in the update property it will create the database and will add the data, so the previous data won't be deleted. So please take care of using this. So the create property, each time it is running, it will delete the previous data and update the table. The create drop will drop the tables once the session factory is closed. The validate property will not make any changes, like it won't create any database, any tables. It will just update the table, and the update property, it will create the table also. So that's four HBM to DDL properties we can have in the configuration file. So if you not explicitly specified this in the configuration file, so it will be in update mode only, that is hbbm2ddl.auto in update property mode. And this one, and it is recommended not to use this in your production or live environment, only in testing environment, because this could drop you your previous data. So take care on using this if you are using in uh, live environment. So it is suggested to try user defined SQL script file for any database changes. Now let's check the other optional properties. First one is the use second level cache property. This is the property value which we have to give. Property name Hibernate cache, use second level cache, because we have to set it true, and we have to take any of the cache provider. In the further tutorials we'll check what is the second level property and what is the use of that. And the next property, which is also optional, it is a connection proof property. It actually limit the connection of waiting to Hibernate database connection pool. So by default it is 1. So it can be set to any count, any countable count, so it will limit the waiting Hibernate database pool connection. The last and important property description what we have to add in the Hibernate config file is the class mapping property. So it should have all the mapping class, the entity actually. So the mapping class should be entered in the Hibernate config file. So for a Hibernate could have any, so all the entity class which you have using, you should add in the configure file to for the Hibernate to take the values and read the values and process all the requests. So that's all for now about Hibernate config file. I'll share a config file on the description for your further references. If you have any doubt in this, please comment below. I'll be helping you, and thanks for watching.